This video will be an overview of time and billing in Office Tools Professional. Every office does different scenarios when billing, has different processes and procedures in place, so I would highly recommend that you consult our trainers for your specific billing needs. Again, this is going to be an overview to kind of give you an idea of the basic functionality of our time and billing system. You may also want to refer to the setup guides if you haven't begun using the billing system in Office Tools Professional. Some things that you're going to need to set up are your work codes, your billable rates, and you're going to want to customize your invoice settings. All of those can be located under the setup menu here at the top. Again, please refer to our setup guides to finalize that customization. However, in a basic sense, under the billing tab here in Office Tools Professional, you can actually do a lot of things right out of the gate. Once you have your work code set up and once you have your billing rates in place, you can then begin to track time. Now you can do that either through manual time card entry under the time tab at the top of the screen. You can do that through time cards that are created whenever you complete a task from your activity list on the bottom. Or if you've run timers for various reasons, those time cards will also populate here. So where we currently are is we're under the billing tab under time. And what it's doing is displaying all of the billable time tracked for a specific contact. So in this case, that contact is ABC Company, and we're looking at all of the billable time for ABC Company. Now this is the time tracked by every staff member. However, you may want to view this in different ways, for example, perhaps by date and contact name. However, located in the bottom right corner are different view by options. Perhaps you want to organize this by staff members or by projects. You can also click on the column to the top and rearrange it through cascading order. Now on this screen you have a lot of options, and I'll go through the basics. Once we've chosen one of these time cards, one of these billable time cards here, you can see that we can see the hours, the appropriate rates, the actual amount, any markups or adjustments that have been made, and any expenses. Now you can do some on-screen adjustments in billing directly from here. For example, if I wanted to mark up this $125 time card, I could simply click on the time adjustment, on the dollar adjustment, enter in what I'd like to make that amount be, and tab through it. And that obviously works in both positive and negative amounts. Once you've done that, if you've made your adjustments on this screen, you can actually select the time that you want to bill and hit Invoice Now. You can also do many options by right-clicking these items. Edit, delete. Again, you can mark up, mark down, adjust the rates, and so on. One neat little trick is, let's just say, for example, that we want to go ahead and bill these April time cards. And through a price agreement or a flat rate agreement, we know exactly what we're going to end up billing them. So there'll need to be an adjustment made on this time. One handy thing that you can do is actually select by just dragging over the time cards, those three. Then, by right-clicking in any of the area that's been highlighted, you can go to your sub-menu and choose the Markup, Markdown option. So in the previous example, I took one time card and marked it up $25. However, by doing this and selecting multiples, right-clicking and choosing Markup, Markdown, it actually gives me a total option. So currently, those three time cards come out to $775. However, based on our agreement of $800, I know that's what I want the invoice to be. So I simply type in the new amount, say OK, and the system will automatically apportion that adjustment over all three time cards. So the time card that has more time will get a larger portion of that adjustment. Again, this time card right here, with 2 hours of time, received a much higher percentage of the markup. And that is also true in the negative. So now I can simply highlight those three time cards either by dragging and dropping or selecting the bill boxes and choose Invoice Now. Some additional options while we're on the screen is the select time function. This will allow you to filter the time based on dates, staff members, and so on. But once you've made those decisions, you've made your adjustments, you've selected the time that you want to bill, go ahead and choose Invoice Now. At this point, you'll want to choose an invoice date and an initial status. Now in Office Tools Professional, there's 3 initial statuses on invoices. In process, review, and final. In process typically means there's potential for more time to be added, more adjustments to be made. It is a non-finalized invoice. Then at that point, it can be moved to review. And then again, typically at this point, it's approved. Maybe some additional changes are made until ultimately it's a deliverable invoice, and then it's put into the final status. In review and in process invoices will have a watermark available so that you could, if you were to print them out, have that visual differentiation between statuses. Final invoices do not have that watermark. And you can protect final invoices from any kind of editing through the user rights area. There's also some important things to know about final status invoices. You cannot apply a payment to a in-process or review invoice. It must be final for you to apply a payment to it later on. There are also many reports that take into account in-process and review invoices versus final. So certain details may or may not show up in the appropriate reports based on its status. So for this example, we're going to go ahead and choose in process and invoice now. At this point, it will actually create the invoice for us. It'll switch the screen over to the invoices screen, which I'll show you here in just a moment, and open up the edit screen for this invoice. Now there will be a user guide specific to invoice settings, so I'm not going to go through all of these. However, the basics are, over on the right, you can choose from different invoice types. We've selected a work code style. Different levels of detail. Obviously your line item notes, amounts, and all of your totals. Now you can make adjustments from this screen. For example, had I not previously marked this up to $800, I could do so at this point. Some other options on the screen are to update the status, change the date of the invoice, print an email, and even view all of the time cards that are associated to this invoice. So for example, if I was curious about the time that had been tracked up to this point, I could view these time cards, and I could see those adjustments that we made earlier. Once the decisions have been made, invoice looks good, I can go ahead and put this into final status and print it out for the client. So here we are now located under the billing tab under invoices, and we can see our new $800 invoice. What we've done there obviously is bill those 3 time cards. So if we were to go back to the time screen for this client, those 3 time cards for April are no longer here. We have our invoice, and again we can print it, email it, send it to document management, or upload it to our client portal. Once that's been delivered to the client, if everything goes good, then we'll obviously receive a payment. So now the payments area is located again in the top right area of the menu of the screen under payments. Here you can see all of the previously applied payments or outstanding payments that haven't been applied yet, retainers for example. So to create a new payment, simply come to the plus button here, choose create new payment. And then again at this point you can go ahead and choose the company, type in the amount, the payment methods, notes, and so on. And you can see on the bottom here we have one invoice for $800, which we can either apply or unapply that payment to, which in this scenario we want to go ahead and apply. Now at this point, if I had a stack of checks, for example, I may want to simply save this and create another payment. So I could use the save and new function here on the bottom. Or, in this example, a one-off payment, I'm just going to hit save and close. So now we can see our $800 payment in the system. If we go back to our invoices, we can see that $800 invoice that we just created is now paid in full. Under the payments view, there's also various ways to view payment and billing detail, such as payment summary, receivables, history, and aging. Office Tools has many reports associated with billing, and again, there will be user guides that are very, very specific and detailed to reporting. However, all of those billing reports can be located under Reports at the menu at the top and Billing. Simply choose the report you would like to run, any filters that you may want to use, any additional options, and verify your date range, and you can preview or print that report. Now that's a basic run through of the Billing tab. Now again, as I said at the beginning, every office is going to do billing a little bit differently. Inside of Office Tools, we have many, many options. You could, for example, run a WIP report, have that report reviewed, and then make those changes here on screen from the time area. You could build the time as it sits and make your adjustments on the invoice level. You can take retainers or payments and then apply those to an invoice at a later time. You can choose an invoice and actually add time to it that has been tracked after the fact. So there are a lot of billing options inside of Office Tools Professional, and please review the additional guides or contact our training department for some one-on-one training.